We're just a group of neighbors that live in this riding that are joining together to call attention to Dallas Brody's behavior.
And what's this behavior?
Well, she unfortunately has engaged in residential school denialism a bunch
Has
of times
she?
publicly. Yes, and
Do you have a quote?
there are news articles. There's news articles with quotes. If you go
I'm
to
curious.
New York,
I would like to hear from you. What is it exactly that she said that you don't like?
This went back and forth for a while. I had to try really hard to get them to explain why they are protesting. One would think that if you make horrible accusations like calling someone a racist, you should know exactly why. I don't like the word denialism. Residential school denialism is used to censor any questions or comments about not just residential schools but indigenous people in general. Let's see what else they had to say.
the thing that is bothering a lot of us is what she's been saying about the reconciliation quote-unquote industry and her general framing of these issues.
What specifically has she been saying that you don't like?
Well, she's done a number of interviews, and in those interviews she has said things like that she thinks that DRIPO should be repealed, that she thinks that that reconciliation is an industry that's like funneling money to a, what did she say, like a privileged racial minority?
Yeah.
I can't remember her exact words.
Couple notes. Repealing DRIPA is something that the BC Conservatives Party campaigned on last October, and nearly half British Columbians voted for it. Also, if we look at the budget, we can see the dramatic increase of money going to Indigenous causes, but we can also see no improvement whatsoever in the lives of Indigenous people. This is federal data, but provincial trends are similar, and as a taxpayer, I actually expect our elected officials to question this.
For the Kamloops Indian Residential School, and
So
she
what's
said
that?
there are no bodies at the Kamloops Indian Residential School.
Well, I think she said there were no bodies found. Have they been found?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Has it
they've
been
ground
confirmed?
penetrating radar. That's the
I
residential
don't
school
think-
that my granddad went to, and I can assure you that children died there.
I believe this is Dallas's tweet she is talking about. 0 bodies have been confirmed, and Dallas is not the only one saying that. Here is a Fraser Institute report saying exactly the same thing, and here is a National Post article saying that First Nations themselves refer to the suspected graves as anomalies, not children, and note the number in the title.
And I can assure you that children died there. 295.
295?
It's all
So I heard
bodies
this.
are buried in the same plot where my family's buried.
Was there any digging that happened there?
They're not going to dig up the remains of people.
Why?
Because there are children buried there and that's their final resting place. That would be like asking to dig up your grandfather's grave to prove that he died.
So how do we know that they're actually there?
Because of ground penetrating radar studies that
And
prove
because of
there are bodies and
survivors.
bones, and the survivors that are there, including people like my granddad who went there and people died there.
But do we not want to know if it's 290 people or 215 or maybe 15 or maybe 500
It
people?
could be up to 500.
It could
Those
be
are
up,
the ones that are buried there.
It
If
would
they
be
were
up to
looking at
1,000, but
50%,
how do we know if we don't do the proper investigation? So do we just throw numbers around?
Well, we've identified 295 bodies so far.
A lot to unpack here. First of all, the number 295 is completely made up. All the articles only ever mentioned 215. And the fact that she doesn't know the number and she doesn't even care about the real number is very telling. Then, if we were to talk about the digging, then we can see in this article that $12 million were given to the Kamloops Band for recovery of the remains. None of this money was spent on physical recovery. Maybe it's just me, but physical money should be spent on physical recovery. If you don't want to do the digging, you shouldn't be taking the money for the digging.
Why you feel like it's owed to people from outside of the community that's Indigenous, that's affected, to prove that people died there. I think that's a bit ridiculous, and I'm not really sure. Like, it feels like a big distraction.
In my opinion, it is not a distraction to want to know the truth. Did children die? How many children died? Who were these children? How and why did they die? Genocide is an intentional killing of an entire people. It is a horrible crime, and if you accuse people of genocide, if you accuse an entire country of being genocidal, there must be very solid evidence to do so. Is there evidence? If there was evidence, why would you try to silence any questions and label anyone asking the questions as racist? Is there evidence?